Welcome to the Education Corner, a podcast by Education Choices magazine.
Education Corner podcast would like to welcome Mr. Michael Hodge, Principal and Head of Broomwood Boys, Mrs. Louisa McCafferty, Head of Broomwood Girls, and Mrs. Caron Mackay, Head of Broomwood Pre-Prep, from the Broomwood Schools in London. Formerly Northcote Lodge, Broomwood Hall Upper and Broomwood Hall Lower, the schools merged in September 2023 to be known simply as Broomwood. Children at Broomwood are educated together at Little Broomwood and Broomwood Pre-Prep before moving to their own schools, Broomwood Prep Boys and Broomwood Prep Girls, boasting the benefits of both single-sex and co-ed education. Welcome to our podcast. Firstly, would you like to introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about your roles at Broomwood?
Thank you very much, Chloe. Lovely to be here. I'm Michael Hodge. I'm the head of Broomwood Boys Prep and principal of Broomwood Group. I have just recently started, so I'm 5.5 weeks in and absolutely loving it.
I'm Louisa McCafferty, and Chloe, thank you for having us on today. This is my second podcast with Education Corner, and very thrilled to be here again. I'm head of the Girls Prep, and I have worked at Broomwood for quite a long time now in different guises, but it's fantastic to start this year with a new team and a really exciting place for us to be.
Hello, my name is Caron Mackay, and I am head of Broomwood Pre-Prep. I look after the children aged 3 in our preschool Little Broomwood up until year 2. Thank you for having me.
And Michael, you have been a long-standing head at Prospect House School and are now obviously taking over and leading the Broomwood Group as principal. What do you feel you're bringing to the role, and how do you envisage your role going forwards?
Yeah, well, hopefully I'll bring a fresh perspective. You know, as you mentioned, we've recently merged 3 schools into one. So that perspective hopefully will allow me to see things differently. Having been at a school that goes all the way through one unit, I can bring that. Obviously, with that, I've got years of leadership experience. And again, just asking different questions and working together. One of the other things I think I bring to the role is collaboration. Very much about working together with the people around me, so Louisa and Caron, to ensure that we get the best for Broomwood and make sure that our ideas are in line rather than 3 individual sites working on their own, because that's really, really important. With that as well, I have a great sort of knowledge of the London day school market, particularly for boys and girls, which I think is going to be an interesting area where we may be thinking about and looking at. And with the merger, I think we can become closer as we move forward with more things to do. And I hopefully will be able to bring that as well. How do we make sure that everyone sees us as Broomwood, not as Northcote, Broomwood Girls, Pre-Prep?
So your vision really is kind of working very closely all together. You describe the Broomwood model as best of both worlds. Could you describe what this means and how you perceive this is going to bring benefits, Louisa?
We really feel that the Broomwood education is all about working with children at a particular age and making sure that everything around them is focused on their development at that age. And so our best of both covers that kind of journey through the different sites, starting with Caron at the pre-prep and everything we do there being very child focused and age specific. And then that continues on into the prep schools. So although they start in a co-ed setting, when they kind of split into a girls and a boys prep school at the start of year 3, we believe that that gives them this wonderful single sex setting where everything we do is geared towards the needs and the interests of the girls and the boys. But we want to capitalize on the fact that we're a group and we have 2 sites really close together to give the girls and the boys that chance to come together again, to be able to work alongside each other and with each other, to be able to continue kind of forging those friendships or making new friendships from the pre-prep and when they experience interaction with people who have joined the prep schools at a later stage. So it's really about constantly thinking what's going to work really well in a single sex setting and where can we find purposeful and meaningful opportunities to bring the boys and the girls together to give them the best of both.
Sounds wonderful. And in the pre-prep, Caron, you use thematic learning. What is this and how do you feel it's benefiting your pupils?
So thematic learning is something that actually Louisa and I brought in many years ago. And it's a style of teaching that incorporates the history, the geography, the science, English, all under one topic. And what we find is that it really brings the learning to life. We hook the children in by doing a very like a wow lesson at the beginning, not telling them what the topic is, seeing if they can start to figure out what the topic might be, what are they going to be learning this term, just by hooking them in. And then it means that it's relevant. It stops the stop-start learning. What I found in the pre-prep is if they did geography, they'd close their book at the end of geography and that was it. And then they'd come back to geography a week later. So it was very stop-start, whereas thematic is just always continuous learning. And then it also allows us to really home in on those fundamental English skills all the time in every subject. Again, I had a child once who didn't use punctuation in science because it was science, but he used his punctuation in English. So we find that it really benefits the children, especially at this young age, because they follow the rules, they want to do what's right, and in their head, English is English. But if we can bring it into everyday life, then it means that we can really hit those targets more often.
I was just going to add that actually further up the school in year 7 and 8, we bring some of that thematic learning back into the curriculum. So actually, particularly in our humanities provision, we really have looked at creating a kind of mastery program across geography, TPR and history, which is all about that connection finding and linking the different topics together to really think about those kind of real world topics and issues, and to try to make sure the children are understanding how everything to some degree is interlinked. So even though the thematic is really focused as a big part of the pre-prep curriculum, we really value a lot of the kind of benefits of it and have brought it up further into the kind of the top end of the school, where we start to look at those EPQ type skills, research, presentation, bringing it all together. So it's definitely a theme throughout.
And you also had 8 billion ideas in, didn't you, thinking about life skills as well?
Yeah, life skills is kind of part of it. The soft skills are huge throughout all of Broomwood. And I think, again, it all features into that kind of rounded individual, making sure that they've got experience and support in all of those different areas before they take that next step on.
And going on from there, how would you describe the process of moving from the pre-prep, which is obviously with Caron and they're doing their thematic learning, to the prep at the age of 7? And how do the children adapt to a more single-sex environment? And how do you support them through this?
When we start talking about the children moving up to the prep schools, we do it very gradually. They know it's coming. They know it is a step as part of the journey. It's not a surprise. With regard to our children within the pre-prep, they move already a building from reception up to year 1. So they've done the process of moving buildings. So our aim is that when it comes to them moving to the prep school, it is just moving building. They're not going to a brand new school. It starts gradually by them getting to know the different staff. We have staff who work cross-site, and then we invite them down to come and meet the children in that summer term. We also give the children lots of opportunities to come up and visit the prep schools as well, whether it's to experience the science labs or co-ed days. And then they get given a buddy. And we brought this in this year, and it's been a really, really fantastic transition piece for the children in that they've been given a year 8 buddy and they get to meet them in the summer term. They know who their class teacher is going to be. They know who their class is going to be. And then when they move up to the prep schools, before school even starts, they meet that buddy the day before, and they've already received a handwritten letter from them during the summer as well. So that process, although it starts gradually and it sort of ramps up before the end of the summer, it means that everything is put in place for that transition to be smooth for them to start in September. And as much as I would love them to pine over the pre-prep, they don't. They very much wave goodbye and off they go, very, very happy. And then obviously when they move up to the prep schools, that start of term is so important for them. And we have seen such wonderful results from this transition process this year.
And Louisa, what happens next? Because it sounds like they obviously are very comfortable with the move.
Yeah, I think the key part for us is making sure that all those worrying moments that the children might be feeling anxious about, what does lunch look like? What's drop off like in the mornings? Where do I find the loos or the changing rooms? All of those things that we know are often the big worries for children. All of that has been covered before they get here. So actually, the year 3 and year 4 children that have started at the boys prep and the girls prep this year really came onto site on day 1 with everything kind of in place. They were so confident because of that transition. And we just continue to build on that. Everyone will have a slightly different journey to kind of feeling settled. And some it will be after 5 hours. For others, it might be that it's taken a few weeks or the first half of term. So really, it then becomes about working with the individual, making sure that they are feeling settled, that if there's extra support they need, or other kind of mechanisms to help them feel confident about coming to school, we put that in place. But actually in that single sex environment, because so much of our focus is about them as individuals and what they need, rather than broad strokes and sweeping statements, that's exactly what we do. We look at the individual child and work with them to get them feeling positive and really excited about joining the prep schools. And it's worked so well this half of term. This was the first term that we had year 3 joining the prep schools, and we couldn't be more impressed with how they've settled in. It's really been quite impressive and has made for a wonderful start to the term.
I imagine although they're girls and boys, they're still mixing. I know when I visited that there are all sorts of different things that they're doing together. So they're not completely separated all the time.
No, they've got a lot of opportunities throughout the year groups to come together. But in year 3 and year 4, part of our new programme of events is that they actually have PE together once a week. We also have quite a few co-ed clubs. We have loads of extracurricular opportunities. There's sporting competitions. We have our cross-site orchestra that happens every week. So many events. And I know that Michael's going to talk more about this in detail, but residentials are all co-ed. So we really want to look at what's purposeful, what's meaningful, and where can we give them a really exciting co-ed provision, and then also a really focused single-sex provision on our own site.
And Michael, I know that you're still kind of in your first half of term, but how do you find the different teaching methods are more effective for boys or girls in the prep schools? And can you give any examples of the way you differentiate the teaching?
Good teaching is just good teaching. We don't necessarily have teachers who teach boys and teachers who teach girls. And I would be sad if I was, you're a girl teacher, you're a boy teacher. You should just be an excellent teacher, and you should adapt according to each and every single pupil. Some pupils may be a little more sensitive, some may not. And again, it's not gender specific, by the way. And it's very important that we adapt according to the individual child, not the gender sex of the child. And I think if we were going down that path, I would feel sad. I'd feel sad that we as teachers can't adapt accordingly. So no, we don't use a specific method. We just expect excellent teaching to meet the needs of children. But the single sex does allow us to go into areas perhaps that we couldn't do co-ed. For me, one of the greatest things is there's no gender stereotypical roles when there's a boys' school and then a girls' school. Currently, we're doing Matilda, the play in year 8, and everyone gets to play and their parts are mixed and some of the boys are being girls. And there's no stigma attached to that. It really allows them to explore and just have some fun without being, that's a girl role, that's a boy role. And I really like that about the single-sex education. It gives us many opportunities, and we don't pigeonhole children into certain areas. Again, in sport as well, in the girls' school, Louisa and I were chatting, football, rugby, netball, they equally valued. We don't just say girls do netball, boys do football, which I know happens in a lot of schools. It gives them opportunities and gives them a sense of, actually, there's nothing I can't do, and there's no sport that's not open to me. So for me, it's about being an excellent teacher, adapting accordingly, and making sure every child, no matter who, has an opportunity to experience things perhaps they wouldn't normally experience. And the single-sex environment really allows that to happen, in my opinion.
Louisa, did you have anything further to comment there?
Yeah, I totally agree with what Michael was saying. I think that often the perception is that single-sex schools have narrower offerings, and I just don't think that's the case at Broomwood at all, possibly because they start as a co-ed pre-prep. But for us, it's about that broad and rich curriculum. It's about giving the girls and the boys the chance to say, what am I interested in? what have I not tried that I'd like to have a go at, and really supporting them in that journey as a learner, but also as they start to become a bit more aware about themselves and they grow in that confidence, and that allows them to take that next successful step into whatever they're interested in and whatever pathways they explore in the future. So I think it really is about supporting the individual, but having a huge amount of opportunities for them to really benefit from.
And although the prep schools are single sex, you describe the school as having ongoing collaboration and co-education. Michael, what are some of the ways that you're doing this?
Louisa did touch on it earlier about what we take is Caron does such an amazing job in the lower years. And we use this opportunity so when they move organically to year 3 and year 4, as we move up, they've already built up those relationships. So they know each other. So we don't say goodbye, close the door, we don't want to see you again. It's very much how do we use these moments to say, well, you were friends and you created and made those friendships. Let's find opportunities. So obviously the obvious one and the easy one is sport, such as we've mentioned, swimming, PE lessons. But again, we'll look at activities and days where we can get the children together. Now, I'm not going to lie and tell you we get together every single day and this is what we do. It has to make sure that it works for the curriculum and for the children. So recently, I know between the girls and the boys, there's been a wonderful orchestral performance where the boys and the girls got together to perform. And it was so lovely to see using those skills, those experiences, and then producing something brilliant. We had cross country last Thursday, a little chilly in the morning, but the kids got together and really enjoyed being with one another. We've got the annual ski trip coming up in December where they all go. So again, it's about making sure that happens. We've got a number of cross-curricular days that are happening throughout the year where educationally the children will be put to tasks, activities and ideas just to create a sense of learning and an understanding of one another. And it's just finding those opportunities to make sure they work and there's outcome, because that's really what it's about. So it's not every single day, but it's about, yes, this would work. Let's make it happen. And we do. And look, we're on our journey. We're on the beginning of that journey and we're going to look for more opportunities. So we'll utilize year 3 and 4 particularly. And as they move up, it will organically grow. So are we the finished product? No, we're pretty good, but we're constantly looking to make it even better.
Sounds very exciting. Do you think then that this hybrid between single sex and co-educational models such as Broomwood has become is going to be the future of education?
There are lots of different models and they appeal to different families and children. I certainly wholeheartedly believe in the Broomwood model, and I really think it delivers on everything it promises. We're all about the children. We're about reacting to their needs, whether that changes or whether those are things that we know are coming, on the horizon and we can plan for. But for us, it's about instilling that confidence, giving the children a safe space where they feel valued, they feel heard, and they feel that everything we do is to benefit them. So I certainly think that it could well be the future of education. But I think the reality is that all the different models have their benefits for different children. And it's important that there are options for families who would like to start off in a co-ed environment, but can really see how much that journey through a single sex prep school benefits their child. And I think because we go to 13 as well, there is something that's particularly focused on that year 7 and 8 year groups, because actually as those children start to enter the kind of teenage years, that's when they really need to feel that they are in a nurturing environment, that they've got the support around them, they've got the challenge, they've got the kind of motivation and encouragement. And that's something that I think Broomwood does really, really well with the girls and the boys at the separate sites, because when they leave us, so many of the children go on to co-ed environments, and I've never had anybody come back and say that it hasn't worked out. So I think it's actually less about have you been to a single sex school or have you been to a co-ed school, and more about have you had an education that's really allowed you to flourish and feel like you're ready for the next step. And that's what we work really hard to do, particularly at the top end of the school.
If I could add to that, Louisa, I was actually chatting to the head boy and the deputy head boy the other day. And I said, if I just came in and said, we're being co-ed tomorrow, would you like it? And they both went, absolutely not. We'll enjoy that. And again, I asked one of the year 3 boys, I said, are you enjoying not being with the girls? Do you miss them? He goes, no, I'm really enjoying it. They couldn't articulate exactly why, but they're happy. They genuinely are. We ask our pupils all the time because it's about them.
That's so lovely. How do you feel Broomwood is preparing? It's quite a big question, really, because it's a London edition, this edition. But how do you feel Broomwood is preparing the children for senior school? Obviously, you're preparing a lot for London schools, but possibly even boarding options further afield. And what benefits do you feel a Broomwood child has, or what do they come back when they return and tell you that they feel that they benefited from having had their prep schooling with Broomwood?
I'll start this, Louisa, and you can definitely add on because pupils definitely would have come back to speak to you, seeing as I've only been here 4 weeks. So a couple of the key areas I think that work at Broomwood is we have an incredibly long day. The children come in officially at 8 o'clock. Lessons are until 4. We have a quick tea break, and then from 4:20 to 5:20, we have prep. And the great thing about that is the children do their homework here, everything gets done, they go home and have genuine family time. No homework battles, anything along those lines. So that long day really does set them up and prepare them for that next step and that next journey. And that's really, really good. I think also the contribution that is expected, all our children are expected to take part and contribute in all areas of the curriculum. And I think that is key. There are a huge amount of leadership responsibilities placed on the children, from giving tours to people. So we had our open morning last week, and our year 3 children did the tours in the pre-prep. We had our year 7s and 8 pupils taking parents around in the prep schools. We give them opportunities all the time, and they rise to that challenge. So I think from my perspective, what I've already seen is we aim high, we raise the bar, and our pupils really respond to that. We give them opportunities. We expect them to rise to those opportunities, and they absolutely do. The longer day equips them for their secondary school journey, but I'm sure Louisa will be able to talk about the values from those who come back and share with us how their journey's been.
Absolutely. A lot of it is exactly what Michael said. The girls, when they come back, and I know the boys are the same at the boys' side, they often say, Broomwood prepared me so well for that next stage. The fact that I had to manage my workload, I had to stay on top of my prep. I had it done in a supportive environment, but I had to take ownership of that, means that I was so ready for that next step where the support, steps back a bit at senior school and you are expected to do things on your own. So that preparation and that journey really gave them the kind of foundation for that journey into senior school. I think what's also wonderful to hear is how many of our pupils go on to be head girls, head boys, prefects in certain areas. And often when I ask the senior school heads what it is about a Broomwood child that they notice compared to children coming from other schools, I think it is that ability to be confident. It's not arrogance. It's not positioning yourself above other people, but it is that self-awareness. It's that ability to engage with adults and children alike. And I think a lot of that is coming from our model. The children move around, they have lots of different teachers. They're really well used to engaging with different adults and different children. And all of that vertical work, the buddy system, the opportunity to have vertical tutor groups at the girls' school, that allows them to have those skills in place before they go to a bigger setting. So I think it's mainly that preparation for organisation and independence, but also the leadership opportunities and the way that they kind of hold and carry themselves. But you're right, Chloe, a lot of preparation for senior schools in London. We send to 11 plus day schools. We have about 2/3 to 3/4 of our pupils who'll stay on till the end of year 8, many of whom will go to boarding, but some will go to single sex day schools, co-ed day schools. And so we really do prepare for everything. And our preparation is, as you would expect, very tailored and bespoke to the individual in keeping with everything else that we do at Broomwood. So, we start that preparation, particularly in year 5 and year 6, which is where everything kind of leads up to these days. But it includes interview clinics, group preparation sessions. We do a lot of work on preparing the girls for any type of assessment, because a lot of our families will keep their options open until the last possible moment as they decide what route is going to work best for their boys and for their girls. And so there's a huge amount that goes into that preparation. But actually, I think what we do very well is we keep that motivation and preparation going even after the children have sat their assessment. So for us, our journey doesn't end in January of year 6. We have many children who will keep going, and therefore that's part of our journey. It's not done and dusted once you've sat for your senior school. It's about finishing prep school in the best place possible and really fulfilling your potential. And so all of that preparation continues in some shape or form, but we work on that kind of end journey because it's so important that we focus on all the different parts rather than just at the outcome. And we were thrilled last year. Out of our 103 leavers, we had 42 scholarships, 22 in academic, and lots across the board in sport, music, art and drama. So that personalised approach, that opportunities that the children have, academic enrichment and, you know, extension in other areas, means that they're on that pathway. And not everyone will be a scholar. That's definitely not our model either. But we really think that that journey allows people to flourish and be successful.
I do remember when I was there last year seeing a very impressive leavers board in the, I think I was in the dining hall. There was just about every school I could think of up there. Now, thinking about the future, Michael, you've kind of hinted that it's a work in progress. Obviously, it's exciting times. What is your vision for the future of Broomwood?
We just want to continue to be a really great school for great kids. I want children to look back on their journey and going, gosh, I love my time at Broomwood. And that's really what we need to remain at our core. Because if we try and change too much or do too many special, clever things, we take away the heart of who we are. And we are a great school for great kids. And that's fundamentally what I want us to be. But with that, I want to continue to give children as many opportunities. I want them to be around it. Because as Louisa said, I want them to go on and be head boy and head girl. I want them to flourish. I want teachers and then employees to saying, what a great start that kid's had in life. And that is the goal. And that comes with character. And I really want to place a lot of emphasis on character development. Yes, the academics are incredibly important. And we will continually drive standards and make sure that they reach their potential academically, but also on the sports field, also in the music halls, also in the drama stage. We want them to reach every single area of excellence. But I want them to know who they are. I want them to be proud of who they are. You don't all have to be in the first team. You don't always have to be the main star in the show. You don't have to love performing, but just know who you are and more importantly, be proud of who you are. And I think moving forward in this world where we're moving at such a pace, if you can just go, I know who I am, I'm proud of who I am, I like who I am, I think that will set you up for great things in the future. You're not trying to fit in or be somebody else. So hopefully the character development that we can give them at Broomwood will hold them in great stead for the future. Also, whilst we want to retain the heart of Broomwood, we are always looking for opportunities, but purposeful opportunities. We don't want to just go, oh, let's try that. If it will benefit the pupils, we will strongly consider it and probably put it in. If it won't benefit the pupils, we're not going to waste time on it because we're doing it for tick box exercises, which is a waste. We're here for one thing and one thing only. How do we benefit the pupils to make sure that they have the best journey? I know Caron has a few little things to say because obviously it's slightly different further down. And as you prepare them for us as well, Caron.
Oh, no, you said that all beautifully, Michael. Like, I know you've only just joined us, but I'm like, yes. I was just going to say that what is lovely now about Broomwood is that everybody is in the right place. Michael has joined us. The year threes have moved up to the prep school. And the plan for the future would be to continue to grow. And as Michael said, you know, we're always continuously reflecting on what we're doing to make it better for our pupils. And, you know, from my point of view, the pre-prep, it's building from the bottom up. You know, it's so important to set these foundations when they're little. And we've had a very successful first year of Little Broomwood, of the children being 3. And so now we get to have them an extra year earlier, which is so exciting for us as a school to see them at that preschool age. Yeah, to just continue to grow.
I think it sounds wonderful. I look forward to coming back. I will hope to in the next term. And it's a pleasure to meet you, Michael, and exciting times
Likewise.
ahead.
Thank you very much, Claire. I really have enjoyed meeting you and chatting to you.